want to talk about putting together a business puzzle of success and the pieces that accompany that mission. The one question that one must ask themselves is, how hard are you willing to work to achieve the level of prosperous growth that you desire? Only a select few fall into such a category. A study published by WealthX revealed that 68% of people with a net worth of at least $30 million made it on their own. Furthermore, a study published by Fidelity Investments revealed that 88% of all millionaires are self-made, meaning that they did not inherit their wealth. My friend Jason Roberts came from nothing and has built 10 multi-million-dollar companies from scratch. He spent the last 12 years traveling the country, teaching tens of thousands of people the mindset and the mechanics it takes to have the same entrepreneurial goals while also living a balanced life and one that you want to live. Roberts has helped hundreds of thousands of people transition from full-time employment to building a business which serves them while also creating millionaires and multimillionaires. Robert says connecting the dots between business and life success is intertwined because it's interrelated to the amount of sweat equity that you're willing to invest in the entire process in order to see it to completion. And as an entrepreneur that came from humble beginnings, Robert says he's grateful for his success, but also mindful of the tactics that need to be undertaken to ensure his sustainability over time. And he joined me this week to have a conversation about longevity in business, the art of the dedicated entrepreneur, and so much more. If you're ready to level up in business, this is a conversation that you cannot afford to miss. So without further delay, I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Jason, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to talk to you this afternoon all about peak performance, my friend. Great to see you, and thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I look forward to it.
Absolutely, my friend. Now, I know your professional claim to fame is as a peak performance coach, my friend. You're devoted to helping people and studying the ways that they can advance their lives, my friend. So I'm wondering if we can start our conversation by you telling me about the good work that you do, my friend, and what makes you so fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess this journey's been a long journey, but I've had the privilege to speak on stage for the last, 13, 14 years. I get to travel around the country. I get to teach what I do, where I've had success. I get to help people learn from my failures. It's been a really, really cool journey. But one of the things that I struggled with was I was flying to Phoenix one time, and I was thinking about the group that I was going to speak in front of. And then I was thinking about how, I can share a message with a live audience of 300 or 400 people, and everybody hears the exact same thing. And only a handful of them only a handful of them actually take what I taught them and implement it. And when they implement it, life changes and gets better. But like, why does everybody else, if I sat in front of a room of 400 people and I told them where there was $1 million worth of gold buried, why wouldn't everybody get in the car and go dig up the gold? Why do only a handful of people do? And so that's what really kind of started me down the path of like, I've got to reach people in a different way, because most of the time we have the tools to get what it is that we say that we want, but for whatever reason, some internal conflict, we're not taking the action. Like it's not a secret how to lose weight, right? Everybody knows how to lose that 10 pounds if they want to, yet we struggle with it. There's a reason why 90% of New Year's resolutions fail before the end of January. And so it's that I really started to dive into the last handful of years and help people figure out what's off with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jason, I know that the concept of resilience is something that you can relate to, my friend. I know that you had an interesting childhood, but through those sort of experiences, you've been able to persevere, and you've built over 11 companies, my friend. So tell me about the power of perseverance, your childhood, and how you view the concept of resilience, my friend. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know where I adopted the belief that there's always an answer, or there's always a solution, or there's always a way, but it's just been ingrained in me, and so I think where you're going with that, or what people could gather from it is, we all have a set of beliefs. And those beliefs are shaped from early childhood, and those beliefs, whether they're real or not real, like we could totally believe something that's absolutely not real, or we could believe something that is real. But whether it's real or not, if we believe it, then that's our model of the world. That's how we base our decisions, and that's what we do. So somewhere along the way, I had a belief that I just don't stop. I don't give up. There always has to be a way. There always has to be an answer. There always has to be a solution. And I in life and business, I can give you a million stories in business where everybody on the team was ready to give up or quit, but I didn't accept that, because my story says there always has to be an answer, there always has to be a solution, there's always got to be a way to push through. And so part of this is identifying, what beliefs do I currently have that are serving me, and what beliefs do I have that are not serving me? Because creating your own business isn't easy. Growing your own business isn't easy. Life isn't easy. Raising kids isn't easy. But, the definition that we give it, or the meaning that we give the situation, makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Jason, I know that you've grown multiple businesses to over $1 million in revenue in their first year, my friend. So tell me, what do you think is the key to growing and scaling in business, my friend?
For me, it's understanding what you're good at and understanding what you're not good at. I work with entry-level entrepreneurs that are just funding and starting a business, to companies that do hundreds of millions of dollars a year worth of revenue. And the issue is always the same. We have to understand, we have to put our people that are good at what they're good at where they're good at it. And for so many, even companies that are in the $1 to $10 million range, a lot of times I see an entrepreneur who, is the business isn't serving them. They're serving the business. They're working 80 hours a week. No one can do it. I get this every time, whether I'm working with a medical practice, a law firm, a dental practice, whatever it is. They always say, "Well, Jason, you don't understand. We're in the medical field. It's a unique business." And I always respectfully say, "No, you don't understand. You're a doctor that's trying to run a medical business. I'm here to help you fix the business. I'm not here to tell you how to be a doctor." And the skill set is different. If for anybody that's read the book, The E-Myth, the story. But lots of times what happens is we're good at something in the world, and we say, well, we should create a business around it. And then we come over here and we create a business around it, and we put ourselves in all those different places on the assembly line, and then we're stressed out, overwhelmed. Right people, right place gets extraordinary results, and understanding where you're good and where you're not good.
Yeah, and Jason, tell me, what do you think it means to be a peak performer in business?
For me, it means pushing harder, pushing better, working harder every day. I don't think it's a quest for perfection. I think it's enjoying the journey, but understanding that we do a little bit better today than we did yesterday, and we keep doing that every day. We all have potential that's untapped. There's a million studies about putting people on a treadmill or exercise or anything like that. Like, we are so much more capable than what we often tell ourselves. The subconscious mind has 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. And 90+% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as yesterday and the day before and the day before. And guess what? They're not like good, empowering thoughts. They're scarcity thoughts. They're fear-based thoughts. They're all these things that, and then that, if we let that control us, it impacts the decisions that we make, and the decisions that we make today is our destiny going forward. So we've really, really got to hone in. I teach over 16 weeks how to reprogram this. And for anybody that's listening, I really believe 80% of success in anything is psychological and 20% is mechanics. The right mechanics will get us to the finish line 10 years faster. And a lot of what I work on with businesses is mechanics. But we can have all the mechanics in the world. Just like I said, we can have a map to where the gold's buried. But if this is messed up, we don't take the proper action to go dig it up. And so that's really what I help people do.
Yeah, and Jason, I want to ask you about the concept of business mentoring. I know that you've developed businesses that have grossed over $100 million in revenue, my friend. And I know that, as you've mentioned throughout our conversation, you help businesses in a variety of industries sort of scale, grow, and succeed, my friend. So what do you think it means to be an effective business mentor? And tell me about the satisfaction you get guiding others to success as well.
I just read an article before we jumped on, and it was a guy that was talking about the difference between an influencer and an action maker. And basically what he was saying is, you could have a guy that runs a business that does $50 million a year in business, and a good company, and this guy, it's on his heart that he wants to teach other people. But he's a business guy. He doesn't have a big social media following. He doesn't have a big audience. He may not be the best, most charismatic speaker. He doesn't necessarily resonate. He's necessarily maybe he's monotone and he's kind of boring to listen to. And so he makes this training on how to build a very successful company, but no one hears it, no one buys it, no one uses it because he's not an influencer. He's not those things. And then you've got this guy over here who's a social media influencer who's never built a business before in his life, but he's built a business around selling people on how to scale their business, even though he's never scaled a business before, but he's got 1 million followers and he's selling a bunch of courses. And so this is the world that we live in right now. There's a lot of people that are pretending to be coaches or mentors. There's a lot of people out there that are they rent a Lamborghini for the day and rent a $1 million house on Airbnb for a day and have a video crew come and create this false sense of success. I've spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars at this point on coaching and mentoring and all those things. And one of the biggest lessons that I get, one of the biggest gifts that I can give everybody is find somebody that's actually doing what it is that you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to scale a business from 1 million to 10 million, find somebody that has a $10 million business that didn't have a $10 million business 5 or 10 years ago and align with that. Find somebody that's already getting the result, not somebody that's teaching the result per se. And I'm not making anybody wrong. I'm not saying teachers are bad. What I'm saying from my own experience is that I tend to learn best from people who are actually doing what it is that they're teaching. I believe that those people can help me get to the finish line light years faster. We bought a 94-bed assisted living facility. I don't have any medical background. My mom was a nurse, but I've never owned a business in that sector before. And the very first thing I did before we ever closed on it was paid a 5-figure amount of money to the guy who's the largest Medicare, Medicaid biller in the state of Missouri. And I spent some time with him to understand what is it that I need to know here? What am I going to miss? What do my numbers need to be? What should our cost per day for food be? What should our cost per day for medical supplies? All these different things, because this is a new business. And so I would encourage everyone, beginning entrepreneurs or people that are just getting started, they have a belief system that says, once I start to get some success, once I start to make some money, then I'll invest in a mentor, then I'll invest in myself, but I got to get it to work first. Experienced business owners, multi-million-dollar business owners say, I'm going to hire the mentor first because the person that can show me how to get to revenue quickest, that's not an expense. I'll make 10 times more money in my first 12 months like that than I will if I don't. So the right mentor isn't an expense. It's a huge ROI on your investment.
Yeah,
the wrong one, maybe not.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jason, I know that you started your first business at the age of 21, my friend, in your bedroom, my friend, talking about real estate investing and mortgage lending and all that sort of stuff. So tell me about your entrepreneurial sort of persistence and how it helped you to get to where you are today.
Yeah, I started that first company at 21. It was kind of on a whim. My first and only real job I've ever had was at a collection agency. I don't know if anybody listening has worked at a collection agency before. It wasn't my gig. We made 200-300 outbound phone calls a day, every single day, and the majority of them were somebody on the other end saying, "F you, I don't have the money to pay." Click. It wasn't a very friendly. Wasn't a very friendly environment, but you get over call reluctance real fast, when you do that. For any of you guys that are in sales roles or prospecting roles or have a business that has that, you get over that real quick when you're in that job. So that was good for me. I also got to see how a real company operated and ran, but at the same time, I realized, by the time I left there were probably, 700-800 employees. It was an ocean of cubicles. And I remember walking in there every day saying, I don't know what God put me on this earth to do. I really didn't know what I was supposed to do, but I knew it wasn't supposed to be there forever. And nothing against anybody that wants to be there forever. It just wasn't for me. I saw guys that were 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old coming into that cubit every day. And I said, for me, there's got to be more than this. There's got to be something different. And so one of the guys that worked there with me, he left and he got into the mortgage business and he did really, really well. And so that was the only thing that really caused me at 21 as a kid to say, let's open up my own business was it sounds like a whole lot more fun to help somebody buy their first house than it does calling on a delinquent Discover card. And it pays more money to help somebody get their first house than that. And so I called down to this in Missouri and I said, what does it take to open a mortgage company here? And they sent me the packet in the mail. And back in 2001, it wasn't extraordinarily difficult to get a license for a mortgage brokerage or bank. So it was that start. And I don't know, I never really questioned whether or not it was going to work. Like it had to work, And I remember when I left the collection agency, most of the people were super supportive. The owner was super supportive. I'm still friends with him to this day. But there was some high level management that said that as I was kind of walking out said, "Oh, he'll be back in 2 weeks like everybody else. He'll be back in 2 months like everybody else." And I remember thinking to myself, I'll go fry French fries at McDonald's before I come back here and ask for my job back. Just because, like, as a, just hearing that they just knew I was going to be back begging for my job back, and so it I don't know, it lit a fire. It lit a fire that made me say, yeah, no matter what, I'm never going back.
Yeah, absolutely. And my friend, I know that 2008 was a interesting year for you, my friend, where you were dealing with the financial crash just like everybody else. So tell me about what happened to you in 2008, because I know you had to file for bankruptcy, my friend, or everything in between. So tell me about 2008 and how it changed your life.
Yeah, that was a very interesting / painful time in my life. It was also, well, I'll tell you how it became one of the best times in my life, but in the midst of it, it wasn't. It was 2 years of hell, to be honest. And, 07 came. By that point, I had built that company from the spare bedroom in my condo. We had close to 100 employees. We were doing around $1 million a month in revenue. It was a good business. Like you said, we're number one rural housing lender in the state of Missouri from scratch, from nothing. And then one day in one day '07 comes, and we didn't get any warning. There was no heads up. There was no, make some different decisions. We woke up in the morning and the entire market was collapsing, like minute by minute. Big banks, Lehman Brothers, they were all going out of business. And what that meant for us was that we had millions of dollars worth of loans that we had already funded, and they sit on what's called a warehouse line until we sell them. Well, now we couldn't sell them. So now we're paying default interest on millions of dollars worth of loans that we can't sell. We can't originate new loans. I remember vividly, I was at the office by 5:30 in the morning every day. I remember I had 9 emails. It was on a Friday. I had 9 emails from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac saying, do not fund this loan, do not fund this. And we didn't know why. And we didn't know why until, later in the morning when the news started to break of these banks were going out of business. And I never, I remember calling this gentleman that had a closing at 9 in the morning, and then we had 9 closings that day, so I had to make 8 more phone calls like that to tell people that they're not going to get their home, and then like reality set in that we've got 8 more on Monday of next week, and 6 more on Tuesday, and 11 more on Wednesday, and out for the next 30, 60 days, and now none of them might not get their money for their house. We went from bringing in 7 figures a month in revenue to losing $100,000 a month over month for about 2.5 years. And from middle of 2007 to 2010, I went from being a multimillionaire to broke, chapter 7, and basically homeless. We bled $100,000 a month ish for a little over 2 years until there was no more money left to bleed. And, I found myself having to make the decision, do I pay the office rent or do I pay my own mortgage? And, it wasn't like there was any job that I was going to go get, that I was going to go work for somebody else and make the income that I was making. So I chose to pay for the business. And as crazy as it is, we made it to the other side. We never actually had to close the company. We made it to the other side. But at that point, I kind of threw my hands up in the air and said, I'm done living like this. I'm done being a slave to my business. I'm done neglecting my family and my friends. I'm done working 80 hours a week. This isn't how I want my life to look like anymore. I'm done sacrificing. It was bred into me that your job as a man is to work and provide. And I still believe that, but like I equated that to 12 and 14-hour days, and if you would ask me why I was doing it so that I could take care of the people around me that I loved. But what they really wanted is me in their life. What they really wanted was presence and time. They didn't care about fancy vacations and all those other things. So it was, and it taught me a lot about debt too. It taught me from a perspective. I utilize debt to this day 1/10 of what I did before. We've got some apartment buildings that have some debt on them. We have some other businesses that have small debt on them, but it's very small in proportion to what we can have. I'm not here to have the good debt, bad debt argument. I'm just saying for me that when things turn, when tides turn, when markets shift, and you're in a good position, you're okay. If you're not, right now, I just read the other day that 25% of all commercial loans in the United States are set to arm adjust within the next 12 to 24 months. Watch and see what happens. Everybody that was buying multifamily, all these different things, they did these skinny deals in hopes that they would capitalize on appreciation. Now that appreciation isn't going to be there, and the deal doesn't stand on its own. That's where debt's bad. That's where everything you worked for the last 10 years wipes you out and destroys you. And I'm just not interested in playing that game anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jason, tell me, how do you define the concepts of business courage and confidence? What do you think that means to you?
I had a mentor tell me one time that some of the people who are the leaders in their field, whether it's a professional athlete, whether it is a high level CEO, whether it's whatever it is, the people who are the best in the world at what they do, they bring the certainty to the situation. They don't derive the certainty from the situation. They bring certainty to the situation. And I look at like where that has shown up in my life, and I think I'm here talking to you not because I'm this super smart business, but probably because I've made more mistakes than most other people. And with mistakes, you learn and you grow and you get better. But one thing that I can say, and that comes back to that 80% of success in anything is psychological, is we've got to train our mindset we've got to train our mindset that we came to win. We got to train our mindset that we're overcomers, that we're achievers, that we're going to figure out the answer to the question no matter what, that we're not going to give up, that we're not going to quit, because the mind looks for a way out. It constantly looks for a way out. And if it thinks for a second that there's an easier path of less resistance to give up and quit just so we can reaffirm our story that it didn't work, we'll take it. And so we've got to really condition our mind. And when you condition your mind, like to burn the boats. I mean, there was a reason why Army generals did that, and in the early days, and that was because when we are faced with either dying or succeeding, we tend to succeed. But the reason why we don't succeed is because we give ourselves a way out, and we take it. If we burn our boats, if we don't give ourselves a way out, then the mind says, I have to show up here, I have to win here. And so as a coach or consultant, one of the things I do is I help people paint themselves into a corner where it becomes more painful to not do the thing than it is to do the thing. And I help extract from people what they want. It's not my version of what you want your life to look like. You tell me what you want things to look like, and then I'll help build the system that gets there.
Yeah. And Jason, what is your perspective on your definition of business impact, and whether how you measure whether a business is truly making a measurable impact? What are your thoughts there?
Man, I mean, that's a great question, and I think the answer to that is probably different for everybody. I will tell you that, it's cool to say I've built 10 multi-million-dollar companies, and I'm proud of that to a certain degree. But there was a time in my life where it didn't matter how much success I was experiencing, that I didn't feel fulfilled. And I often, and I'm not here to preach or anything, but for me, I was kind of like a God, why did you give me this gift of being good in business? Why did you give, for what? To glorify myself so I can say I got a bunch of, for what? And I almost started to resent it. I almost started to resent it. And I remember a friend of mine was doing a live event, a business event, and he was teaching people how to do a specific business that I had experience in. And then he asked me to come and share it. It was in my own backyard. It was my competition. And I first told him no. Why the hell would I come teach my whole competition exactly what I do that's unique market edge? Why would I do that? And he said to me, he goes, you know what, Jason, you can either have a scarcity mindset or you can have an abundance mindset. And it sounds to me like you're operating from a scarcity mindset. Good luck with that. Click. And this is a guy that I was close to. Basically, he hung up on me, and I was like, what an asshole. And I'm kind of processing it for the next week or two. And that hit me hard, because I if you were to ask me, I consider myself operating from an abundant mindset. And he was right. I wasn't. Anyway, I go and speak for a couple hours at this event, and I'm teaching people what it was. And I was still kind of reluctant to do it, but I was like, it's the right thing to do, so I'll do it. And at the end of that, there's a lot. When I got off stage, there was a line of people. And one of the gentlemen came up to me and he said, your story about getting wiped out and losing everything and then rebuilding from nothing. He's like, I am right now where you were. And yesterday I was seriously considering killing myself. I was ready to do it. And I decided I would come to this event and see if it gave me any type of hope. And he said, if it wasn't for hearing your story today, you gave me hope that there's a chance. He's like, I would have ended my life. And it was in that moment. And then there were 6 or 7 other people behind him that gave similar stories, not to that extreme, but that was the first time probably ever in my life that I was like, I can use this gift to help create positive change in the world. And for me, that was business impact. I mean, we can talk about business impact financially. We can talk about a lot of different things. But for me, everybody's here for a different reason. Everybody has a different story. But for me, my fulfillment definitely comes from feeling like I'm making a difference in the world with people, helping create positive change.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Jason, I've got 2 questions left for you. But first, I want to share a story with you, my friend. So Jason, when I was born with what's called spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy, and I actually found out at the age of 9, my friend, that I wouldn't be able to walk without assistance for the duration of my life. I was born 3 months premature, and I wasn't supposed to live past 3.5, and I'm now
Wow.
35. So I
God
have
bless you, man.
well, thanks for that. I've dedicated my life to helping businesses sort of realize the benefits of hiring people with disabilities and really closing the equity gap when it comes to giving people with disabilities a chance to work. Because, Jason, I originally graduated college with a sports journalism degree. I wanted to be a sports reporter, but when I went on job interviews for news reporting money, I was rejected by 10 news directors before I got my first paying job. And out of college, buddy, I volunteered for 4 years as a general assignment reporter because I wanted the experience.
Yeah.
So my first job that I got paid for happened in January or February of 2016. I graduated college in 2010, and I got my first paying job 6.5 years after I graduated college, and I helped the government appoint a special master in my province to look into hiring folks with disabilities and the advantages that brings. So I'm curious to ask you about business equity and inclusion and how we infuse more folks with disabilities into the workforce.
That's a great question. I think, for us, we have a 94 bed assisted living facility in Milwaukee. And it's one of the businesses that I own. And that was like, I have family and people that are close to me that have had traumatic things happen that have impacted them. But I never really saw it if I'm being honest, I never saw life from their side. And that's just me being real. I don't know that I ever put myself in their shoes to say, how do they feel? How can we help? How can we make a difference? And when I went to Milwaukee, when we bought that business and I walked through house to house, there were so many awesome, super cool people, and I got to kind of see that more firsthand. And so we started a program there where some of our social workers, as long as they're passing the test and able to do the job for us, I think inclusion is super important. I think giving everybody an opportunity and a chance, to really understand where someone's heart is, where they want to give, where they want to show up. And we all have limitations. We all have disabilities. We all have things that we're not good at or prevent us. They just show up differently in some people than others. But that doesn't mean that we can't give in a huge way in a certain area. So I think it's about finding, where we all can show up at our best and putting those people in those places.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason, my final question for you this afternoon has to do with your own personal and professional legacy, my friend. And how do you want your legacy to be defined?
That's a good question too. I was at an event one time, and they had us write our eulogy, which that was a super creepy exercise, but also a life-changing exercise. You had to write your eulogy as if it was. And I think what I came away from that with was, how can I do more for others? How can I serve? How can I show up and make a difference? Because again, I hear people ask sometimes, well, what if I heard about all kinds of gurus. I'm sure it's said about me in some capacity. If you're so successful at business, why are you teaching other people? because my needs don't get met from my business specifically. Like it's like it's the fulfillment part. You know how many millionaires and billionaires there are that hate life. I mean, look at like Robin Williams. Look, there's you could list off 100 people that were multi-millionaires, if not billionaires, that committed suicide or ended their life, or that were internally. And there's a lot of them that are living with it. Like money doesn't equal fulfillment for everybody, and so for me. I want to feel like I made a difference in as many lives as I can, and that's why we're trying to get on have as many opportunities like you gave us, Kevin, where we can jump on and share success stories, share things that are working, share what somebody can do to propel themselves to their next level, whatever that might be, and that's what I'm here to do. That's what I'm here to help.
Yeah, absolutely. And final injection, tell me, if people want to get connected with you, buddy, what's the best way they can do that?
So I did something really cool. We have a 16-week training that I run, every day from everyday people to CEOs of companies that are $100 million a year businesses. And it's a 16-week training that helps rewire the subconscious, helps, we're all where we're at in life and business right now because of the belief system that we're operating off of every single day. And the only way we change, the reason why you've been telling yourself for 5 years that you're going to start going to the gym and you haven't, is because you have a belief system around who you are right now. If I can help you change your belief system to be the belief system of the person who is 20 pounds skinnier, who does have a ton of energy, who does have a successful business, if I can change your subconscious mind to believe that you're that person, what the mind does more than anything else is try to reaffirm what it believes itself to be. And so if I can help you change who you believe that yourself to be, you won't have to work hard to go to the gym. You won't have to convince yourself every day. You won't have to do all those things. Business life, your relationship, your marriage, wherever there's trouble showing up, created a really cool program. I condensed that into a couple hours. It sells on our website for $1,000. For anybody that's listening to today, you can go to ultimatesuccessblueprint.com/conversation. ultimatesuccessblueprint.com/conversation. And for any of your listeners, Kevin, they can download that whole 2-hour training for completely free. No cost, no nothing, no buy something later. It's my gift to you guys. For those of you out there that are seriously looking for a change, whether it's life, business, relationships, whatever it is, I think the answers are there. And I would encourage you, invest 2 hours in yourself. I'm giving it to you for free.
Well, I appreciate that, my friend, and I appreciate you agreeing to engage in conversation with me about business life and everything in between, my friend. You're really making a difference in moving the needle of progress forward, and I want to thank you for engaging in conversation with me this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, and big congrats to you too, man, for making a difference and invest in your life and your time and helping push people to be better too. There's nothing more in life that I appreciate than that. So thank you for what you do, man.